Hello, everyone. Welcome to our next episode where we're going to be talking all about dreaming with God. I'm really excited because both Lori and I have been in this place where we've chased dreams with God and chased dreams without God. And there's a huge difference in in what that looks like. And I feel like there's so many people out there that are dreaming without God in the picture. And that could be the reason why you're not seeing the dreams come to pass, or you feel just constantly drained and exhausted, just trying to make it work in your own strength, because you have no supernatural assistance to bring this dream to pass. And no one to take that burden from you, because when we dream with God, like he's a partner in our dreams. And he's like, "Hey, I'm sharing the load with you. I'm actually carrying the load for you." And I actually just had this picture in my head of us sitting on a donkey and him just leading the donkey, like, "All right, here we go into dreamland. Like, I'm going to lead you in through this life, and you know, we're going to achieve great things for my kingdom together." And it should be a partnership when we dream with God. And so a little bit about my story is I, had this light come into me, this dream come into my heart many years ago. And I went all in. Like, I was like, I am going to chase this. I'm going to become this, this, this. I had all this motivation, all this inspiration. And, I did have God in my life at that time, but to say that I was really, really partnered with him in a sense of submission to him in the dream, it wasn't there. I was not submitted to God in this dream that I was chasing. And because of that, I crashed and burned pretty hard and lost what I had worked for. And so that can happen. That's just something that can happen whenever we dream without God, and we think that we can do all these things without him, because we really can't. And I know there's people out there that build really successful companies and businesses and hobby, like all these things. There are very successful people out there that do it without God, absolutely. But is it really, fulfilling the depths of their soul? Like, we don't know the answer to that. They're on this constant chase. And I feel like when we dream with God and we're partnered with him in dreaming, we don't have this like endless need of just like more and more and more and more. It's just more of him. That's it. Like, that's the dream. Like, I want more of you. And because of that, you're filling me up and filling me with this purpose and this dream at the same time. And we're impacting this world together. It's not the impact that's necessarily my fulfillment. And I think that's the most important thing for us to realize. Like, we're not here to be filled by impact and success and what we can do in this world. We're filled by God. And because we're filled by God, we get to impact. So we just have to remember where it starts. But I'll pass it over to Lori so she can share her thoughts.
Yeah, I remember, man, it was 2010 when God told me I would stand on a stage. And I was like, no. It was 2011 when he talked about where he was taking me and the women on the hill and friendships and fortunes and ministry and how all these lives would be changed. And I remember I just ran off. Like, he told me I would leave teaching at the time. So I was teaching at the time. And he told me was going to leave teaching. And so I left teaching like three different times because I was like, oh, we're leaving. So year one, the first time I did it, I'm like, "Woo, yay!" And then I found myself back in this place. I'm like, okay. So then was back in teaching, and then I was like, oh yeah, that reminded me, I'll be leaving teaching. So I left teaching, and I went, wee, and I ended up back in the same place. I can remember that. I remember laying out on my patio in the dark, staring at the night sky, going, what is happening? Why do I keep coming back to this place, to this same moment, to this place, to this same moment? God, what is happening? And that's when he was telling me, he's like, yeah, I gave you the promise, but I didn't say we were ready to go. I'm like, I have to get you prepared. So we have to remember he may give us this dream. He may show us this promise that he's calling us to, but he's just giving us the first step. Like here's the title of the book, but the book isn't written. You're not prepared to go out and do it yet. And so I kept running off without him and then come back to that same place. I would just go back to what I would call the mountain. I'm like, why am I back here again? Because you went without me. And I had to bring you back here because this is where I still was. I'm still standing in this place where I told you. And then you went woo around the mountain and you have to come back. So if you ever find yourself like, why do I keep going this? Why do I keep coming back to this spot? Because you went off without him. He's still in the same spot where he told you, and he went off. Whee! And they're like, why isn't anything working? And he has to bring you back to that same spot because that's where he's still at. So I have done that multiple times, and I get so excited because we do. He gives our greatest joy is in that purpose that he put inside of us. But we can, and when we start losing the joy, it's because we stepped outside of him. We went off without him. And we're like, why isn't anything working? I don't understand. Or maybe you're like, well, I don't get that. I just feel this nudging. Yes, he also does that too. It's different for everyone. We got to remember to stop comparing our lives with everyone else. Yes, we can share our story and it can spark like a connection with someone else that's something similar in your story. But we have to remember our story is our story. It's beautiful. God is writing our love story because we are his love. We are his love. And every story he's writing for each individual person is his love story. It's a love story of you, of how he feels about you. And within it is your purpose, because you are your purpose. And it's very multifaceted. So he may be nudging you to take a step because in fear. Some of us are go-getters. I'm like a go-getter. And like he gives me just a step and I'm like, woo, and I'm off. And he's got to rein me back. But there's some of us that are like, I don't know, that seems big or that seems scary. And so we ask a friend, and that friend may not be hearing from God. And so they're discouraging you. And so you stay stuck. So either A, you're stuck in that spot, or you're running in a circle and you come back to that spot because you went too fast without him. So it's very important that we realize that all of our purpose is because of God. And we can run off without him, but then we're not going to go where we need to go. We run off our path. We have to come back to that place again. We have to dream with him because he wants to give us exceedingly abundantly more. And when we don't allow him to impress upon us just how mighty our purpose is, we get lost in the confusion of it because or because we're waiting too much for all of the pieces. He doesn't move us with the entire puzzle. He'll just give us a piece. And then we have to put it in the right place, just like he gives us the seeds. We have to sow them in the right place. And we're not going to know those things when we run off without him because he has to tell us where to put it. He has to tell us where to sow it. He has to tell us how much of the seed that he put in our hand is meant to be sown here or is it sown there? That's a huge one because if we don't sow the seed in the right soil, that soil could kill it. That soil could grow worldly something instead of the godly something because we're supposed to be growing for his kingdom. Our provision and protection is for his kingdom. Everything we are doing should be for his kingdom. But if we walk off without him, it's not for his kingdom, it's for self. And that is huge. I actually just saw something in my journaling. I was flipping through it this morning. God was trying to show me something. And that was one of the things. He's like, when you run off without me, then now the promise is not my promise, it's your self-ish promise. And I was like, and he had told me that like a year ago. And he brought it back to me, maybe for this, I don't know, or maybe to point something out. That's something I will ask him later. But again, ask him, seek him, draw near to him, sit with him, dream with him, because the enormity of his dreams are nothing that we can even fathom. He's going to show us something so huge, kind of like back in 2011 when he's talking about all these women on the hill and fortunes. He was already talking about friendships and fortunes, and I'm like in debt, going, what are we talking about? He had to put that seed. He's got to start putting those seeds and watering those seeds so that we can start dreaming with him the abundance that he's put in us. We can't do it without him. Can't.
Yeah. No, that's so good. And I love that you pointed out, well, that he pointed out to you the that selfish aspect because that's like one of the most important things is we want to keep our eyes on him at all time. And I've asked him before, anytime that I've started to really get, grow and excel in some of the calls that he's given to me, I immediately have this thought come over my mind of just like, Lord, keep me close to you. Like that is first and foremost. Like, do not let me gain, success or all this abundance and all these great things if it means I'm losing you. And I feel like that's something that we have to really just continue to remind ourselves, just because of our fleshly nature, right? That as soon as things start going great and, woo, success, oh, this is exactly what God promised. And um, I'm moving right along. And then you just kind of slowly notice that, like, you're not as close to God as you were before all that came to fruition. And when that happens, you lose the vision of the dream. Like you lose his vision because we don't have the capacity to see how he sees without him. Like we cannot see the big picture. And, I think about the scriptures that talk about him knowing us before we were even born, him being the one to knit us together in our mother's womb, that he has a plan to prosper us and to give us a hope and a future, that he already had all these plans in place for you before you were even thought of. He was thinking of you. And so that is evidence that he is the one that can see the biggest picture for your life, and he knows how to get you there. And so when we decide to take matters into our own hands, we only sabotage his plan and his purpose for us. And, we think that we have it figured out, but we have to realize that there is a big God out there that knows you better than you know you, that knows what's around the corner that you can't see. He knows everything. And so just because all these great things came to fruition by his hand and his blessing and his favor doesn't mean that we can just lose sight of him and just, skip for joy as if we did it ourselves. Because that's where we can make a lot of mistakes. And this is why it's important for him to fully mature and develop us. I say fully mature and develop us. We're not going to be fully matured and developed until we go to heaven, but, really mature, prepare, and develop us in these quiet places prior to, which we talked about this in our last episode about being in the valley versus the mountaintop. We have to go through those valleys to be developed inside, internally, to be prepared for those mountaintops, knowing like this was all God. This was all God. He gets all the glory. There's nothing that I did outside of just being obedient and trusting him. Like that's it. That's all I could say for myself is I trusted him, you know. And even that, right? There's still times that I can say I haven't trusted God. There's still times that I can say I have had doubts and I have to ask him to help me with my unbelief. So really, like, can I really give myself even that much credit? Because his spirit really does come and step in every single place. And I think that's what's so amazing about the grace of God is that we can be that real with him. We can be that vulnerable with him. And that's why he's the most trusted partner to dream with and allow him to lead us into those green pastures of life, through the valleys and into the green pastures up on the mountaintops. Like he is the best counsel that we could ever have, the best business partner we could ever have. And dreaming with him doesn't always even look like just a business thing, right? There is a purpose placed within you that he gifted you with to impact for his kingdom, to shine his glory. So whatever it is that you do, do it unto the Lord. Do it for him. Whatever it is, whether it's washing your dishes, changing poopy diapers on your baby, or you work at a daycare, or, maybe you don't have this like elaborate career and you just have this job that pays the bills. Do it unto the Lord. You're not doing it to pay your bills. You're not doing it for your boss. You're doing it for the Lord. And that's going to change how you show up to that place because He even has purpose for you there. And it doesn't mean that He's limiting you to just that place. Like, I feel like there's certain places He puts us primarily for character development. Like, there's no other reason. It's just like, I'm here so He can develop my character and teach me something. And this is just a temporary place. So, and then He's going to level you up. He's going to take you to places that you would never imagine for yourself. And I think sometimes, too, a lot of us have been filled with so much doubt over our life, especially when we are young, that we like really struggle seeing something more for ourselves. It's like, oh, I really could be there. We're very limited in the way that we dream. And that's another reason why we need God partnered with us in our dreams, because only He can expand that vision and that capacity for us to dream bigger. And then, then there's some of us that just are huge dreamers. Like, you're very highly influenced by all these successful people in the world. And all you do is listen to like get rich schemes and how to become a millionaire overnight. And, all these people out there that are just motivational, um, probably not partnered with God in a lot of their ventures, but maybe you're in that place and God has to, I don't want to use the word bring you down from there, but just change your direction. It's like, yeah, we still want to have an abundant mindset, but over this way. It's not on this road to self-pleasure and ego and pride and look what I did, look what I built because I followed these steps, I followed this program, and look what I did. Um, We just have to pivot our direction with that abundant mindset. And so some of us are in that place and we just need to pivot. That's it. Just focus on Him and you will see the fruit. You will see the fruit come in your life by pivoting your direction because with Him, things will not fail. They won't. If we put our trust in what we have built or what we are building, that's fleeting. That is of this world. Like, there's no eternal value in that. And so when we dream with God and we build with God, that's eternal value. And it's not going to fail. It's not going to fail. So I think that's just the most important thing. And that's our safety net. To me, that makes me feel secure. Like, I know that because I'm walking with God in all these areas of my life and I'm putting it in His hands, I'm safe. I can trust Him, even if it doesn't go how I think it should go, or, maybe I do fall, but He catches me, right? I'm safe with Him. And that's the most important aspect of dreaming with God, that you're safe with Him and secure in His hands.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm also thinking too, and we can look at, oh, look what I did. I'm successful. I'm a millionaire. I did this. But if you start backing it up, every seed comes from God. He's the one that puts the seed in the hand of the sower. So it doesn't matter. The blessing came from that seed. It didn't come from me. It didn't come from them. It didn't come from anyone but the one who created seed in the first place. And not only that, but created it in such a way that it has to be put in soil and it has to have water and it has to have nutrition and it has to have all these things in order for it to grow. And again, He's the only one that makes things grow. So there's no way anyone ever could say, look what I did, because the seed didn't come from you. You may be standing at the top here as a billionaire, but the seed didn't begin with you, and it's not going to end with you either. And also, as Taylor was talking, I had this epiphany from this 2011 when God told me friendships and fortune. There's a reason that He didn't say fortunes and friendships. It's friendships first. Because for me to become a billionaire, that's not kingdom. For us to become millionaires, that's kingdom. Because it's us. It's not me. It's not you. It's us as the body of Christ. It's us together. That's one of the things he's been very adamant with me is in making you rich, I'm making others rich. It's not about you, Laurie. It's about my kingdom. It's about sustaining my kingdom. It's filling up my kingdom, not Laurie's kingdom, not Taylor's kingdom, not whoever's kingdom, my kingdom. We're called to sustain his kingdom. We're called to bring his children into the kingdom. We're called to put our money into the storehouse for his kingdom. So if we don't have that kingdom mindset, then we're not dreaming with God. Because when we dream with God, it's all about his kingdom,
You
his
just
plan.
you just literally put this thought right into my head talking about that if our mission is money, it's already limited. It's already limited because when I think about the reason this pops in my head because I was just listening to a book yesterday, an Audible about how loved we really are by God, like that it's something we can't even comprehend of how much He values us and loves us. And they were even bringing examples in of like how those that sell their bodies are are valuing themselves at just a few $100s or a few $1,000s, and to the fact that as humans we can put a value, a dollar value on ourselves or on others is insane because God, there's not a number out there. There's not a dollar amount out there that we could put as a price tag or that he would put as a price tag on us. It was the blood of Jesus, right? I mean, how valuable is that? The fact that we're worth that much. And I don't even know what took me here other than the fact that we are so valuable and so loved. And this is why we have to dream with God, because only He can show us that through walking with Him in these dreams, we're going to gain so much wealth in relationships with other people through that kingdom impact. Like that is worth so much more than the mission of money that this world chases and this world's dreams are all centered around is just money, money, get to this status, get these materials and money, have this status, have this title. And God's like, if only you knew the value of these hearts, if only you knew. It's way more than gold and silver and rubies. And it's so rich and such a blessing to be able to walk with Him and experience those types of things. But we will never see that route or experience that if we're just so focused on the world's dreams.
And chasing money. We'll never even understand the kingdom of God when you're chasing money because God isn't about money. Is he about abundance? Yes, but abundance in all things. And money's just like this teeny tiny piece of it. And we look at it as the entirety of it. Oh, that was such a God thing right there. We look at it as the entirety of it. And to God, it's nothing. Money means nothing, absolutely nothing. But to us, we make it mean more than him. And that's the problem because he wants to give us exceedingly abundantly more. And then when you look at this job, let's put it in this perspective. We go to this job every day because that job is our source that's paying all of our bills. Well, the second we believe that, then that job is your source. And that's why you're living paycheck to paycheck. And that's why ends aren't meeting because you're looking at that job as your God. It's not. You got to stop looking
Drop the
at
mic.
that as your source. What?
I said, drop the mic.
Oh, because I was there. Like, I can't even say, oh, yeah, you do. No, I did that for years.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
literally I was going to go to school for a certain job framework because I'm like, ooh, that pays a lot of money. Well, my brain's not even wired that way because it had to do with information systems. And the first class I sat in, I'm like, no, nope, this gives me little joy. So it wasn't even worth the money to me because that was one of the first times where God was starting to be like, see, because you're focusing on the wrong thing. So when you
Yeah.
focus on God and the purpose for which He's placed inside of you, the money chases you. We're
Yep.
not called to chase after money. God gives us the money so that we can sustain His kingdom. It has nothing to do with buying things. It's to sustain the entire kingdom. We're called as an individual to sustain His entire kingdom by ourselves, not by ourselves, but with Him. But we
Mhm.
limit that ability because we're like, well, I need this job because that's my source of income. Nope, that's not your source of anything. That might just be
Right.
what God has you right now for protection and provision because you don't understand the bigger picture. That's the only provision He can give you because that's the only provision you can see. Thus, you're
Mm.
not looking with His dreaming eyes. You're looking at what you can see right now. Stop looking at that. I actually had this conversation the other day with somebody because they're like, well, I can't just drop that job to do the dream in me. I'm like, don't. God's not asking you to. He's just trying to
Right.
show you that, okay, right now, I've given you this job as your provision and your protection as you learn and prepare with me to step into that dream that I placed inside of you, to step into that mighty purpose that I placed inside of you. But you're never going to step into it when you're so focused on this source of income.
Wow.
It's nothing to do with anything except for where I have you right now. It's like Taylor said, right now in this position, I'm teaching you something. I am preparing you. I am showing you lessons. If you would just look at me, I would show exactly what I'm trying to teach you. I would tell you why you're there. I would tell you and show you where you're going to go the second you stop looking at that. Because when you're looking at that, you're not looking at me. And when you're not looking at me, I can't give you everything because you can't even see it. You can't even little teeny tiny bit of faith see it. And if you can't little bitty tiny faith see it, you can't have it.
Mm. That was deep. That was really good. I think that's a great place to end.
Let them
So we
ponder
can all
that
think
this
about
week.
that. Yeah.
This is your thought for the week. What am I
Like,
looking at as my source?
okay, God, you've just highlighted some areas in my life. Thank you.
Well, trust me, I've been on this journey. He points stuff out all the time. Like, is
Mhm.
that your source or am I your source? Is that your need
Amen.
or am I your need? Is that your want or am I your want? What is it that you really want? Me or that? Well, you.
Right. And if it's not you, Lord,
Help me.
then help me. Yeah, help me because
Help me see you.
it's good to get honest with him. I mean, because he already knows. He's staring right through your heart. And if you're just like, "No, God, it is you," like just timidly saying it, and he's like, "Come on, let's be honest.
Mm.
Like, just say it, and I can help you."
Yep. Once we say it, once we see it, because there's so many times things have come out of my mouth. I'm like, did I just say that? He's like, oh, I knew it was there, but now you know it's there. So now what do we
Right.
do with it?
Yep.
Okay. Now we're working.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, I hope you guys learned just as much as we did through this episode. um, Thanks so much for tuning in. And we pray that you have a blessed and wonderful day. And we look forward to having you on our next episode.